Today, Braelen Bader. Braelen Bader, how's it going?
Oh, it's very nice to be here. Oh, it's a pleasure for sure. Pleasure for sure to see you both.
What'd you think when we asked you to come on to this thing?
Oh, you know who I am as a person. I'm kind of more of the quiet kid, so I'm like, getting my voice out there is a little different. But
you're a business owner now.
I am a business owner, and I'm kind of in the position where I have to talk to people a little bit more now, and
you're a community figure now.
So yeah, it is. It's been it's a little different, but I've enjoyed kind of this whole process of. Well, I was a Celina native to begin with, so to be back in my hometown it's meant a lot to kind of be back where I was born and kind of where I grew up, where I have my roots. It's really meant a lot to be back with everyone, so it's a pleasure to see you both and to be here. And
Nice.
So what are you doing now? You own the Nest, right?
I own the Nest, so I'll kind of take you through the whole loops here. So when I graduated from college, I kind of always had the idea I wanted to do something on my own creatively. I've always kind of been
in high school. I remember you were like that too.
Right. I've always kind of been the hands-on type. Kind of wanted my hands on some things, and I had the privilege of meeting my fiance, who was a graphic designer, and our wavelengths were kind of the same in terms of doing something on our own.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. This June we'll be getting married, so
Nice.
it's gonna happen. But anyway, so I wanted this idea of kind of creating our own studio, and it kind of worked out because she can kind of do all this digital stuff that I can't do, and I'm more kind of playing in the mud type and stuff that she can't do. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So had this idea of creating a studio, and my family ended up buying a building on Main Street, and it kind of started out as a boutique. And I kind of threw the idea at them, like, it'd be kind of cool to like create a studio where we can have workshops and have people coming in to kind of do things and create their own stuff. So that's kind of what we did. We started the renovation after the spring of my graduation, and I think we ended up having our first workshop session in November. So spent a little time kind of getting it ready, but then we kind of kicked off. So we've been doing it for over a year now.
And what do you mean by workshop? Do you have specific workshops where like one of them is making pottery, and then the other one is just like...
So yeah, it's all ceramics based. So when I was in college, I kind of concentrated in sculpture and ceramics.
That's awesome.
In general, and really what kind of inspired me to kind of take that path initially was in high school, because I was a kid that had bounced around a bunch.
You were in ceramics class all the time.
Yeah, my junior and senior year, I'd taken a few classes. And like I said, I was one of those kids that bounced around a bunch of different ideas. I think I went from being a vet to begin with to wanting to do construction to a bunch of different things. So I know. But I took a wheel throwing class. It was my senior year. I don't know. It just kind of it spoke to me. It spoke to me some for sure. And it said, you could pursue art. Like do what you love and what feels right. So I ended up pursuing that, and I went and got my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree up in a smaller school up in Adrian, Michigan.
Siena Heights?
Siena Heights, yep, was the name of the college there, and continued to play sports, which were a big impact to me there. And like I said, when I graduated, we came home and created the studio. And like I said, the workshops, we're doing classes of all sorts of types. So we're doing wheel throwing. I have 5 wheels in our studio, so I'll get smaller groups, business groups, families that want to come in.
5 wheels is quite a bit still.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's been...
There's some room just to have 5 wheels.
Yeah, that in itself has been a process. So right when I graduated, my professor knew someone who had their home studio, and she had been in ceramics for a few years, like 10 years or so, and just bought a new wheel, just bought a new kiln. And then a few months later, kind of decided I'm kind of done with this, kind of fatigued out on it because I know she'd been going to some shows. And I somehow got linked up with her, and she's like, I really just kind of want to get rid of this stuff.
Pays to know people.
And so connections do help for sure. So
That and auctions.
yeah.
Auction.
That and auctions too. So yeah, I have my wheels have a variety of personalities. I have some newer ones. I have some older ones that like to talk, and so they're all different.
So for people who don't know wheels, what are wheels?
A wheel? Well, it's a spinning device. I don't know if we want to get into the science of it and stuff.
Just
but
imagine what do you do on
a
it?
round table.
No, I know what it is.
Yeah,
but
like a round table that's got a motor underneath.
essentially. Now
You use it to shape it, correct?
pretty much.
It's turning, and it's like with the clay, right?
It's you and the clay, man. You're getting down kind of dirty.
What do you start out with? Do you just have like a big, like, do you somewhat make the shape beforehand before putting it on the wheel?
It basically starts out as a lump of clay. Now, depending on what you're wanting to make, I guess kind of how I run my sessions is most people haven't done it before. It's like a new experience for them.
Of course.
So there's kind of a process in kind of getting them acclimated to it and kind of allowing them to figure it out on their own. I usually start people off with about 1.5 pounds of clay. It's kind of more easy to manage, and you can do quite a bit with 1.5 pounds. I always tell them that you can get kind of a nice size mug, cup, and that can kind of turn into a nice little serving bowl, serving dish.
Well, how much? Well, answer this. How much clay did you use for those wine store mugs? Those look really good.
The wine store mugs, those are about 1.25 pounds.
Nice.
1.25 pounds.
That was a lot less than I expected.
Yeah, 1.25 pounds.
You can buy those still, right? At the
I'm
wine
still
store?
working on kind of. Times have been crazy lately. I'm trying to keep putting more out to them. But it's been fun to work with them.
People were like I've heard people were bummed out that they weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, man, I want these wine store things,
they
but
look
they're not
really
there.
good, dude.
Yeah,
I had people coming in
This is
asking
home.
about it. I'm like, I don't have any right this minute. I apologize. I got to get on it. But as you know, ceramics is kind of it's not
Time-
something that you can just do
Time-consuming,
overnight
yeah.
and just have them
Plus,
there.
it's your like.
So
For me, with design wise, it's like once you do it enough, you start to critique yourself a lot. So it's like now everything takes more time because you're like, this isn't perfect. This is how I don't want it like this. I want it like this. Like,
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, but I'm still in those stages where really from that point when I took my first high school class, I wasn't back on the wheel till end of my junior year in college. Like it was all more baseline class. I was doing more sculpture stuff and mold making.
Dude, sculptures are. My godfather was a painter and sculptor, and he, if you go to the University of Tennessee, the big statue when you walk onto the main campus, he did that main statue, and he would always. It's that stuff. That shit's tough. Like
is.
that's a whole nother animal.
It's a ball game for sure. It's a ball game.
I would watch him, and it would just nothing like painting or just his own art form.
And you guys can probably relate. You know, I know sports have been a big part of your life, but just the tactile nature of it, and I think that's why I like it too.
Yeah.
It's so physical.
Yeah.
Every part of the process is. I mean, like I said, you're hands on and you're doing it. And
Well, dude, there's something about us inside our heads that we want that type of physical labor. We need some type of physical labor.
for sure.
Like nowadays, it could be mowing your lawn or some shit. Like that's probably why people
That's one of my
mow
favorite
the
things
lawn
to
all
do.
the time.
Sweeping
Yeah.
the carpet. That's pretty good too.
I like doing those too.
I get so much satisfaction out of that. It's
I
unreal.
fucking hate mowing my lawn.
I love mowing lawns.
My lawn's too damn big, and it takes me like 2 hours.
That's funny.
You need to get a ride mower, man.
Yeah, I had one dude came and knocked on my door, and he's like, "Oh, you want to get some fertilizer for your yard?" I'm like, "Hell no! Why would I want to grow faster? Like, I don't want to mow it more."
Yeah.
My neighbor, he always when in the summer, I can just always expect him to walk across the road when I'm mowing, and I'll stop the mower, and he'll go, "Yeah, I decided to drop the deck another notch." I was like, "Oh, is that right?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, you're not gonna have much grass left." He's like, "Yeah." He's just an old dude, and I was just like, I don't want to do that my entire life. Be like, first thing I talk about is how low I'm mowing my grass.
Does that make it grow faster? Isn't that kind of like shaving your face every
I
day?
don't
It's
know,
going to
dude.
make it grow more?
Well, from what I heard was like if you do want to make it grow faster, you actually should bring it up a notch. Like don't cut it so low because it it apparently like the higher the grass is, the lower the roots go.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you keep them up, it'll grow healthier, taller, and then you start cutting it down, and it'll be all right.
And the other thing is deeper roots. You don't want to necessarily mow your grass too short because if the roots don't get deep enough, that means your soil is going to compact because one, you're driving a tractor, a small like me, I'll mow the church with our tractor, like our bush hogs, because it only takes like 20 minutes. But I have to be careful because if it's too wet, it'll compact the ground too much, and then I can tell where the grass isn't growing as high just because the roots can't get as deep.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah. That is a good point. No.
And also the type of grass. I just don't want my grass to grow at all.
We're talking about grass. That's great.
Hey, whatever happens, man.
Right around 60 degrees, grass grows way too damn fast. Beginning of spring, around 60.
Grass grows fast in like a month, but grass, wow.
Pottery, though, ceramics.
Yeah, no, I have a question. Now, when you start doing, like, when you're on the wheel, like, do you have, like, a specific thing in mind that you want to do, or do you just kind of, like, you know what, as you're doing it, like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and then, or is it kind of a combination of both?
Sometimes it's so nice just to kind of just let it flow and just
let it flow?
let it go as it happens. A lot of times I do have a goal. Like with this wedding coming up, I've been on the duty of making centerpieces and gifts and stuff. So
nice.
what I've been throwing lately are these kind of large bowls that are going to kind of be the centerpieces for tables and kind of hold some floral arrangement. So that's when I go into the wheel, I have that in my mind. And
You can make that big of shit? Like a big bowl, like cauldron?
as big as I can fit in my kiln, which I'm working on maybe getting a bigger kiln in the future, but I can make something that's, I don't know how wide my kiln is, maybe 22 inches wide. So that's kind of my.
I've been thinking about making a kiln
That's huge.
for just melting shit.
Just melting shit?
Like not the kiln to dry stuff, but like a furnace to.
Let's experiment.
I'm down, dude. I got a bunch of old shit. I live on a farm, so it's like I find so much random stuff. I'll be like, I was going through one of the old buildings, and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's a sleigh." I was like, "What?"
What is this used for?
I was like, "Yeah, there's 3 pieces right there, but it's a horse-drawn sleigh." I'm like, "What? Do we have a sleigh?" Like, because it snows, you need to get somewhere.
That's funny. That's so funny.
Great.
Yeah, there's a piece. So what's kind of funny. So we have what started with our studio downstairs, our building. And then recently I got bored because I always get bored and I just need something to do, whatever.
You're industrious.
Industrial.
I love to be doing stuff.
I do too.
Which is
Everyone
kind
does.
of like, it can be a bad thing at times because I get so caught up in I just want to do, go. And so we started renovating our upstairs of this building. Keep in mind, this building was built late 1800s.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'm assuming somewhere around there.
It's awful. My parents own a building on Main Street.
Yeah.
And
Old.
the upkeep of it is awful.
I mean, they used to heat these buildings with coal, and you just imagine how dirty and how dusty these things are. And
Well, you see those, if you see a house with those steel doors, like if you're driving by a house, you'll see their basement windows, right? Mm-hmm. If they have like a steel door, it looks like a big steel door. Those are coal chutes.
Yeah.
And that's what people started.
Oh, no shit.
That's what they used to load coal into the basement.
yeah,
through.
that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, dude, coal was huge. It still is. I mean,
No, it is still huge.
It might end up being the death of me because I knocked down all the plaster lath from our ceiling, and literally it was so thick.
is it?
Yeah. So we
plaster
exposed
and
all our beams.
Is it lathed plaster?
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude, that stuff is so like
was
lathe
bad.
plaster it's where you have little probably about an inch boards. Mm-hmm. And like those old New York scenes of old apartments in New York, and they have like it looks like just a shit ton of boards across the wall.
Yeah.
They would cover those in plaster. And so whenever you would nail anything into them or just try to change it, it's everywhere, dude. Everywhere. It just disintegrates into dust.
It does. I literally just got above the rafters and started stomping it down, basically,
really?
and knock it. I couldn't see it. You can't see a thing.
No, dude.
Dang.
And it's like, you got to be careful because if it's lead paint, then you're like,
You a
oh,
bunch of lead.
let's not even think about that.
nah, dude, yours should be good.
Yeah, you'd be all right.
I've thought about that.
People,
And the amount of, what'd you say?
dude, back then people.
That's what I'm saying.
And people are fine right now.
Yeah.
Like it's a bunch of hoopla now. But
I think it's
we'll
just
find out.
complete bullshit.
So you took like your whole ceiling was this, and you took it all down?
Yeah, that along with pretty much every inch of the buildings that we've gone so far, we've exposed the brick too. So I mean that was all covered in plaster too. So
Dude, that's so sad. They covered nice brick. Do you know how expensive it is to build brick buildings now? Brick is retarded expensive.
yeah, yeah.
Really?
It's like the damn boomers who cover their hardwood floors.
Oh, that's stupid. Hardwood floors are sweet.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like brick and hardwood floors. Show that shit off. Like,
Yeah.
especially a storefront. That's the modern thing. You walk into Urban Outfitters, they 100% they have brick walls and shit.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
they do it. That's very
It's going to circle around probably.
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Everyone
everyone will
does.
circle around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got all the lath and plaster down, right? You got it all off.
That's So our upstairs is pretty much done as far as we went so far. So we've been using it for kind of an extension to what I'm doing as a studio space. We're getting a lot of bridal showers, baby showers, birthday parties, that kind of thing up there, just for like kind of smaller events. Can hold about 50 people somewhere
Nice
around
little
there.
event space.
So, but it's been kind of fun. Last night we worked with a local yoga place, Wellness to the
sweet.
Core. So there's a bunch of people doing yoga up there, and we kind of linked it with pottery, and they all got to kind of have this ball of clay, and kind of the idea was, we control how we mold ourselves, basically, kind of thing. So, and then later in their session, they came down and they got to make these handless mugs that would be unique to like their hand and fit to who they
that's
are.
pretty
So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun event, and I'm sure we'll be doing it again. It was
You need
pretty
to
good.
do some hot yoga or some shit up there.
Yeah, I'm always up for a good sweat.
Dude, hot yoga that's tough, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yoga can get pretty tough.
Especially when you're there and it's like a 90-year-old grandma is just kicking your ass like
Oh yeah.
doesn't even look because they're not even sweating a bit.
I'm so out of shape. It would happen. It would happen.
Do you still work out? I mean, I know you said you're not in shape, but do you work out?
Oh, it's just been. I am making an excuse, but yeah, it's been time. I mean, just going from the school and then going to helping out with weightlifting coaching now. So that's where we're at right now. And then from there, I go right to usually having a session throughout the week. So usually those are in the evening from 6 to 9.
So what's your average work day? Are you working all day and then you do a session at night?
Pretty much, yep. So
Entrepreneur life.
my day starts at 8, and then I'm usually home at about 10 p.m. if I'm
dang.
Oh,
lucky.
yeah.
Really?
If I'm
hear ya.
lucky. So, yeah, it's a long day, but like I said, I always look forward to the studio parts, kind of like
Well, yes, because
everything releases.
if time
and I
passes, do you have that like moment where it's like you'll look at the clock and it's 5 hours later and you're like, holy shit, time just flew by. If you find something like that, just stick with it. Like that's your
That's so true.
thing you like.
No, my fiance she get pissed at me because I'll say, I'll be home and I'll look at the clock. Oh, half hour. Sorry, it's 2 hours later. It's just the way that time rolls when you're doing stuff like that, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it now, then tomorrow you'll forget. You don't know where to start from or something. Like it's just the moment.
That's where you're caught too. And if ceramics is funny, like you have to it's so timely.
You
So
gotta
like
finish all of your.
you either finish it now or you gotta put in the time to make sure it don't spoil and you keep it preserved. You know what I mean?
So what happens if you don't because when you're spinning it on the wheel, it's somewhat wet still.
it is. So
What happens if you don't kiln it, put it in the kiln afterwards, and let it sit there?
it can sit. Well, usually like when I throw a piece, okay, so very saturated with water. By the time I kind of let it dry, just by air drying, cut it off the bat to a point where I can kind of handle it, it's usually sitting on the shelf for at least
Cut it off the bat.
a week. So a bat is basically like a plate
The plate
that
on
you
the
put
wheel.
on the wheel so you can lift it up.
Okay.
I gotcha.
So it's usually sitting on a shelf for at least a week before I even think about putting it in the kiln. Because if you have
no shit.
if you have any kind of moisture at all in it, then
It'll
you
crack.
just create a big old bomb
Yeah.
in your
Really?
kiln. Yeah. So I've learned my lesson the hard way with
The
that.
moisture.
Ooh, really?
expands.
Wait longer than you think you need to. Otherwise, you just
So is that's why it takes so long when you do something
Right.
that okay. So,
So
you
if
just
I
have
w-
to dry it and doesn't know.
Well, if you dry it too fast, then the moisture expands too fast.
Okay. Yeah.
Creates a little air pocket in the clay.
Right.
And it'll break apart.
Okay.
So if Wine Store came to me today and said, I need 20 mugs by next week.
You'd say, hell no.
Well,
No, I'm joking.
the problem isn't the throwing part. I can throw the mugs. I can throw 20 mugs in probably in 2 hours.
Damn.
Somewhere around there.
Damn.
Hour. Like that. The throwing part isn't where the time's really consumed. And that part's coming from the trimming and kind of cleaning those mugs up, attaching the handle, attaching the patch. So that's where the time really comes in.
How long does it
the
take
whole
to
process.
usually dry them?
To dry them, it's about a week, depending on what your humidity's like and kind of that thing.
Do you have to
you
keep
don't
your-
want them to dry super fast.
Yeah.
Because they're going to shrink, obviously, and that creates a lot of
Yeah.
tension. So you kind of want them to take their time drying. You really don't want to rush them. But the kiln firing stage. So I fire to cone 6, which there's cones that apply to different temperatures. Basically, cone 6 is like 2,167 degrees. I might be wrong there. Someone might have to check me on that one. I think.
You could look that up.
I think that's what it is. But that firing process will last. What is
2,165.
Dang it.
What'd you say?
67?
Jesus, dude. I'd say that's spot on.
Um,
Are you kidding me?
That's pretty close.
But yeah, the firing process takes like 12 hours actual heat time. This is
12
all electric.
12 hours?
This is all electric
Oh, wow.
based. Now I could set it to be a little faster, a little quicker. That's just kind of what I have it set to. And obviously you have the cool down time, which is
You think
just
there's a
as long.
difference between like say if you wood dried it, you dried it with wood instead of electric. Do you think there'd be a difference?
well, oh surely. Like you mean
How it
firing?
dries?
Yeah.
how
Oh
it
yeah.
dries?
So at school we had electric kilns and we also had gas fired kilns and we've done a wood fire. Now wood fire you're talking a whole new ball game there too. It's
But
it's
people
a
under-
whole day worth, and to get a kiln that hot with wood,
Oh yeah, dude.
and to maintain that,
Yeah.
I heat my house, our farm with firewood.
yeah.
And that bitch takes a long. It takes a lot of work to
Yeah.
get enough wood, and then
You're
just
probably-
keeping it warm.
You're probably talking about every 3-4 hours you better be putting in
Oh
some
yeah,
more wood, or
and at
probably
night
not
too.
even that.
At night,
Damn.
My dad wakes up twice a night to put wood on the fire,
Damn.
just so it doesn't. Because that's a little different.
But it's a different kind of heat. Like
Yeah,
that heat
that
feels
heat's-
good. It feels good.
But like you said, a kiln is a lot hotter than a regular fireplace. Like
Yeah.
a fireplace is probably 700 degrees.
Yeah. I'd
Well,
say.
a kiln at 2,100 degrees, like you're melting most metals.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting up there. And it can go hotter than that. I can go up to cone 10, which is even hotter.
So then how do you heat that up to 2,000 degrees with
You got an some electric pilot.
It's just, it's all electric. You wouldn't think it just has a bunch of coils running throughout it.
Well, like when you do with the wood. With
the wood.
Yeah, like how do you get it up that?
I've only done it on a few occasions, and I'm no master at it whatsoever. It was kind of more,
Dude, and I know someone I know got a pizza oven, outdoor one, and we tried to just make pizzas with wood, and holy cow.
Yeah.
Like you just to get it to like 400 degrees, like you're taking 4 or 5 hours of just preheating it
Yeah.
with wood constantly. Yeah. It takes a long time. You're better off using coal or something,
Yeah.
but still though, wood, I can't imagine getting it up to 2,100 degrees.
and you got to have the right kind of wood too. I know.
yeah,
that makes-
that probably changed too if you're using shitty wood.
Oh, definitely. The wood you use could definitely,
It's like smoking food.
right.
It's like if you smoke it with a hickory, it's going to taste completely different than a maple or something.
Of course. Yeah,
Is there different types of clay you can use?
Yeah, so I use 2 different ones in my studio right now, and there's ungodly amount of kinds of clay that you can work with. I work with a porcelain, which is a clay that kind of fires white. It's a very good clay body to throw on the wheel. It's very smooth,
Talking like fine china?
kind of
Gotcha.
like that. So it's a very smooth clay that you can. It's very nice for throwing on the wheel. Its downfall is when you kind of get your form kind of thrown up, it can want to collapse on you pretty easily. It can thin out pretty easily. So
okay.
it's more sensitive. The other clay I have is It's a brown clay, and it's kind of got like the speckled body to it. It's a little more grittier, a little harder to throw, but it's got a more coarse body, and it kind of is a bit more stable, I would say. So I've been working with both of those, and the hard part is you want to kind of keep it consistent if you're doing a bunch of classes on what you're doing on the wheel. Otherwise, you're kind of cleaning everything out again because you can't cross
Can you mix them?
Yeah. You can try. I'm sure there's kind of some experiments there, but every clay shrinks at different rates. Every clay takes on glaze at different rates. So it's, you're at a bit of an experiment there for sure.
Because I know a lot of stuff's porcelain, like toilets are porcelain, but a lot of the stuff is porcelain coated. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about that. I wonder if there's any like special clays you can get, like clays that remain somewhat not rigid, like they're flexible still.
Like after the
like a rubbery clay or something like that.
I don't know. There's so much I don't know, so
it's a learning experience.
It is.
Do you
find ways to?
Do you use those for like the people who come in who's never done them before? Like those are the clays you use?
Yeah, those are the two clays that I kind of just have in my studio.
All right.
Do you do painting? You'll do do you paint them with them?
That's the hard part because you can't, like I mentioned before, you can't do this whole process in one day or 2 hours.
Yeah.
So kind of how it works, if someone comes in and wants to throw on the wheel, they're usually getting like an hour and a half throw time, and they may throw 5 pieces, but end up kind of picking which one they want as their favorite.
Yeah.
So they actually physically throw the piece, they'll do the trimming and cutting it off the plate, but then they kind of tend to pick their glaze color, and we usually take care of that. Otherwise, they're coming back for a second time.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of handling that end of things in terms of doing the glazing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Now, Nite Owl. Is that what you're called? Nite Owl or is the Nest? Because you said something about the Nest.
I think
Nite
your event
Owl
space is the Nest, right?
Yeah, so Nite Owl Studio and Design is the studio section.
That's a great name, dude.
So the Nest is kind of like, since
Yeah.
it's up
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of extension.
How'd you
of
come
that.
up with Nite Owl?
Nite Owl. So you have the cliche saying of being a night owl, being up late, which is often true. But kind of the name came from one of me and my fiance's first dates. And it was back, you've been to our cabin that I built when we were in high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just having a campfire when we had first met, and she'd never had a s'more before.
What?
Never had a s'more. And I'm like, you're going to have a s'more tonight. Yeah.
That's
crazy wild.
Crazy. Where's she
Crazy wild. Shelby, Ohio.
from? That's right. You told me.
Shelby,
She never
Ohio.
had a s'more.
What?
Yeah.
She ever seen a cow?
I gave her first s'more.
That is
What?
ridiculous.
But anyway, as we're cooking this s'more up and enjoying it, most bizarre thing I've had happen to me because you don't hardly ever see an owl, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
My grandpa had a pet owl.
the chance of seeing two...
Okay.
The chance of seeing it. You saw an owl.
Yeah, so we actually
kind of
saw
owl?
2 owls.
Oh,
So
no
2 owls
shit.
literally flew on a branch right in front of us, and you kind of remember what it looks like, but we were sitting on the bench that
Now that's
was
weird.
made by...
Dude, that's like basically telling you like that's the
who made the
person,
bench?
man.
Was that Quinn or Colin? I think it was Quinn.
I
Anyway,
think it was Quinn too.
sitting on that bench, cooking s'more, these 2 little screech owls flew on a branch and just literally stared at us for probably a minute and a half
Oh,
by the
shit.
time. And then
That's what my grandpa
That
had.
is-
He had a pet
that's
screech owl.
crazy.
that's kind of where it...
That's really
That's why
cool.
we said we
Dude,
had to have
that's a
name.
cool moment
So,
for that.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw.
was that like the time when you guys were like, "Yep, this is meant to be"? Because that is like
It's kind of freaking
That's
cool,
odd.
but
That is
yeah.
odd.
two together.
Yeah, you don't see it often.
There's a barn owl out across the road in the woods, and he'll come. I saw him sitting on the church once, and he's loud.
That's a good imitation for sure.
And like, dude, they're such majestic creatures to see.
Yeah.
Like you don't see an owl very often, and when you see them, you're just like, damn,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a bird. That's
big
turning its
old
head
bird.
Big old
completely
bird.
around,
Yeah, dude.
like it's 360. And that's such a good name on the nest
Yeah.
too. That
Yeah.
adds to it,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and it has meaning too. I feel like that just makes it more. It makes
More personal. Like I want to
Yeah.
make this place go
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah.
yeah, we like to consider.
well, you don't even know
Making
to know
things.
the backstory. It's almost just like you
Yeah.
see a logo or something, and like you know what I mean? You'll have there's a difference between hometown logos versus like a corporate logo.
Yeah.
And it's just like
Very
they have
cool.
this feel, like you can tell there's feeling in it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense too. Huh.
Yeah, you hope it provokes, like you said, you hope it provokes.
It definitely provoked, because, I mean, I've definitely heard the Nite Owl multiple times, a lot in the past couple of months. I've heard good stuff about
It's
it.
just, it's enjoyable for me. I love seeing new faces and seeing people kind of
Good,
experience
yeah.
that together. It's cool. It really is.
Seeing people enjoy what you do.
Yeah. Well, I'd say like the biggest thing, and why I guess maybe I'm drawn to art too, is, I mean, it's kind of like football, but it's like community. Like in any classes I had in college, like art always seemed to have like this sense of community where you're kind of bouncing ideas off each other.
I feel like
And
that's
maybe
the people. The people that are normally creatives are very free.
But it's just so cool. It's a cool environment.
Oh yeah, and I feel like creatives are just more. I'm not saying more open-minded. I would just say more open-minded.
Yeah, because you're
Just because you
creating
have
stuff.
to be.
Yeah,
You have to be.
for sure.
Well, not only that, it's just like you can get inspiration from anything.
Yeah.
If you're one of those people that are getting inspiration from random crap, you should probably figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
Ceramics is a really cool thing to do with that.
Yeah.
Do you do anything else? Like, do you do like painting or drawing or anything?
God, I wish I could.
Like, but
I can't.
Do you can't?
You can do ceramics. I guarantee.
If you would look
can.
back at the paintings I've done, you'd laugh. You'd laugh yourself silly. You really would. It's.
Yeah, but
They're bad.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
I mean, I guess it could be practiced, but
everyone's got their own forte.
yeah. Oh, for sure, 100%. And for some people, I know when they come in, when they get on that wheel, it's more just like that time where you literally like, I see it happen to them. Like they're not thinking about anything else except them and like this piece of clay, which is kind of cool. You can just take your mind and go somewhere.
You don't do that stuff very often anymore.
Yeah.
Like woodworking, you get in this zone where it's just like you're doing the task at hand, except you're not really doing it. It's like it's happening, but you're not telling it to happen.
Yeah.
And then you kind of bring yourself to peace because you answer all of those thoughts you started to have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's almost like it's sort of like I feel like those activities are much like meditation.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like those activities where it's not like extreme labor or something. It's just like you're physically having. And we don't do a lot of. Think of society today. They don't do a lot of hands-on stuff as much.
No, they don't. Yeah.
But just using your hands is not very common.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's so specific to a person too, because like a woodworking might be like frustrating to some people, but it'd be like really nice for you, and then they might like something else that kind of brings.
I think everyone can do shit, but they just talk themselves out of it immediately.
Oh,
I think that's half the problem.
They can't. But I mean, everyone's so different. Like, just like I mean, I think I might have explained that wrong, but it's just like how you like woodworking, so that's like almost meditation to you, and you like ceramics, which is like almost meditation for you. That like maybe if you like flip flopped, I mean, it might be fun or something, but like it won't be as relaxing or meditation as what the other person might.
But that's
see
only
it as
if you're telling yourself that. That's what I mean. It's like, yeah, if you go into something and you're like, well, I don't really enjoy this that much. Yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you go into it and say like, all right, I know I suck at this. Like, I might as well. I got to figure out how to get a little bit better at it, and then I'll become more enjoyable.
Well, I'm not going that extreme of I'm just saying like some people just have enjoy
definitely.
more things
that are just naturally there.
Naturally
like, they
there.
don't
Yeah,
have
exactly.
To
yeah,
force
that's
themselves to enjoy it.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to that extreme of like, I hate this. It sucks. And
I just think people are a lot more powerful than they realize. I think about it muscles, and you only use about, I believe it's 30% of your actual muscle capacity, and that's your body puts that limit on you consciously. Like you can only consciously use about 30% of your muscle power, but then you have, because at 100% you'll rip your muscles from your tendons, literally.
Yeah,
and but at certain times when you have to, you can utilize, like people lift cars and shit.
I've heard those stories. Yeah.
And I think of that, and then I think our mind's got to be the exact same way, where it's like a lot more powerful than we realize. But we're just already kind of shooting ourselves down just because we're like, oh, well, my memory kind of sucks. Like, I can't remember that stuff very well. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to if you tell yourself that already. Like,
I believe everything can be practiced and
yeah,
built upon for sure.
Dude, if people 2,000 years ago were coming up with shit, you can definitely come up with some stuff. They didn't have anything either.
Moving these
giant stones
with
shit.
ropes and come on.
Yeah.
Come on now.
If we can't figure out a simple thing, then boy, we've gone backwards.
We are going backwards, I think, but I don't know.
I don't necessarily think we're going
I don't
backwards.
know where we're at. I really don't.
We're going
at
forward,
odd
but
time.
at the same time, I think more of individual. We're going backwards as individuals, and then as a society, we're going forward just in like medicine and stuff like that. But individually, I'm getting like where individuals.
I think
are
we're
gonna
going
be able
backwards
to,
individually.
Huh?
I think we're going backwards as individuals.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, individually, we're going backwards, but as a society, we're going forward because we're getting like better medicine, better technology right now. But as individuals, we're going backwards. That's what I was kind of saying.
See, it's like there's a lot of groupthink nowadays, where it's like my way or the highway. Like, if you don't think
Like
this way,
group,
then
yeah.
no, you can't do this. Then just think about when you were a kid. Like, you didn't just not like someone just because they had a different opinion on something. But now it seems like that's it. Like, you almost have to like right at the beginning tell like, oh well, I'm not being racist or anything. And it's like, dude, why do you even have to tell that?
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't even be a thing. And that's not progress to me. We're becoming less of a. I feel like the more free we become, the more progress will actually.
Yeah, I say so. Now, when you went to Siena Heights, did you kind of see any of those kind of like what was your kind of experience in college? Just like because you moved and you were gone. Like, how was like your high school or your college experience and going out on your own, sort of, and figuring out the world?
For
It's
me,
kind of a hard question, but
no, it's a good question because I had in my mind, I know if I wanted to be successful as a student, and obviously I wanted that athletic experience too, but I knew I was going to find a smaller school. And so the class size was very similar to like being in high school. It really was about 20
that's the way
per
to do
class.
it.
So I felt I was able to be more successful. I was able to kind of get to know like my professors and make those connections, and that kind of helped me
Dude,
be
100%.
more successful.
Like at OSU, you're a little fish in a big ass pond.
And I didn't necessarily want that. I just didn't think that would have been my style.
Well,
but
plus
it works
football
for-
played a role in it, I'm
It
guessing.
did for sure.
You just don't want to go to a D1 school and just beat yourself. You're
Yeah.
just going to beat your body to a pulp. Like,
You will.
if you're not fit for that,
Yeah.
and plus you know you're not going to, it's not like you're going to be playing. You're not 6'8".
Yeah.
It's
No, I wasn't. There's not a chance I was going to see the field.
Yeah.
I might be able to fill a few water bottles there, but
But
no.
if you did it with something that you knew you can enjoy,
Right.
it's not like just like a job at that point.
That's exact. You hit it. I mean, that's exactly kind of what I wanted. So I really enjoyed my experience, and I mean, to me, like I think a lot of kids would be like, "Well, I don't want to go to small." Like, but you kind of make your own fun, dude. Like, you do.
I
You
think
make
it's
your own
backwards.
experience.
There's been a push where it's just like, oh well, I went to this school, and that's becoming too much of a thing. I think that it's like, well, you went to OSU or Harvard or something, and just because of that, you think you're like higher than somebody else that didn't. It's like, that's backward. I feel like we're going that way just because college is pushed so much.
Well, I feel like we're starting to reverse that thinking.
Yeah,
a
I
little
think so
bit,
too.
especially in this area. Now the
especially
whole
in this
TriStar.
Tri-
kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Like
Trade schools are you make more money going into a trade school.
Oh, 100% you do.
Electricians make $100,000 a year.
Like I think it wasn't quite in our face like it was like it is now. Like I don't know if I would have
No.
thought maybe differently if I don't know, maybe I would have just stayed around and I don't know. I really don't know the
I
answer to
definitely
that.
Very
would
true.
have, because my parents are a lot older than most of my friends' parents, and so when they were kids, I totally got their perception of it. It's like when they were kids, the people that made a ton of money were the ones that went to college, and that's because 5 or 10% of the population was going to college. But now it's like 70%. I don't know. It's probably
crazy amount.
outrageously high. You get what I'm saying? Which that my parents were. They didn't ever pushed it on me. but it was just like, oh, well, you're gonna go
It
to
just
college.
seemed like that's what it, you know.
And if
Yeah,
you,
and now like people ask you like, hey, where are you going to college? It's not what are you going to do with your life. It's where are you going to college. It's not.
yeah, exactly.
And you got to answer it. I'm going this place.
And dude, the worst thing 70% of people go to college. 70%.
That's a lot of people.
Holy cow.
It's a lot of money somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and my advice is if you don't know what you want to do not go to college.
I don't think so either.
If you don't know what you do not go to college because you'll just end up spending money on like stuff you really don't care
Oh,
about.
yeah. Now, you played football in college, right?
I did, yes.
You went to
Celina Heights.
Yeah.
How was that? Well, what's the difference between a high school and college?
Yeah,
football?
definitely.
God, that's tough.
Oh.
Well, here's what I realized. In high school, obviously, you guys were great athletes. Like, things may have come easier in high school, like where you can kind of separate yourself maybe a little differently than you do
100%.
at a college. So, to me, it like, I don't want to say became a game of doing this, but like I had to like kind of establish myself and kind of prove yourself and obviously earn where you got. So it was a whole process. I mean, I was that typical freshman that got freaking beat around all year, and you got to just find a way to get through and kind of always look for that positive growth. And
Dude, it's a whole other animal.
it is another animal.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't play a whole lot. I mean, till my junior and senior year, I played on special teams a lot sophomore year, and by the end of my junior and senior year, I was getting some field time for sure. But it was definitely different. I mean, you're playing with people that are definitely were more athletic than I was,
Dude,
so I had to put
100%.
in
I remember going to the
more work
camps,
for sure.
Because I was like in a little spurt where I was like, I'll go play football in college, but then I was like, I camp my back.
Yeah.
But I remember going to the camp, like OSU's camp. I got my ass destroyed. Like I was somewhat quick, but then I realized I'm not that quick compared to most of these people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the position I was going for, I tried to do like a lot of more outside linebacker in the camps and shit, just because my size, dude, retarded. It was just like I was decent, but it was like there's people a lot better.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if you're just decent. It's a whole higher caliber of competition.
Oh, yeah. I hate when people say like, I hate when people are like, oh man, that college team would definitely beat this NBA team or like this NFL team. I'm like, there's no way. Like
Dude, that's a whole
the pro teams are the most elite from the college. Like those guys would absolutely like the worst NBA team against the best college team. NBA team would win hands down.
Oh yeah,
I'm
all the time.
with you.
Like, and I people say that all the time. Like, oh, college teams will destroy NBA. No,
college sports are weird to me.
No, they would not.
College sports are a little. I always thought they were a little odd because it's like nowadays you're not really. If you're going to play college sports, you're not really going for school. Not to say
bigger schools,
yeah. Especially like if you're. They should almost separate it at this point. Like I knew so many athletes that went to OSU and they didn't do any of their classes at all, just because they would have a tutor or something do it for them, really. And it's like we're at that point. We might as well just separate it. If you want paid, might start a college league outside of college. Like now it's I don't know. I think college is kind of disintegrating. Online, I think online will replace colleges. Online schooling.
All right.
There are a lot of people who are going to online schools. A lot more people, especially like older people too. I think it will too.
But the problem is the tradition. There's a lot of it's
and the party
deeply intertwined in us. Is the tradition
yes,
of it.
Is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, now it's just like a 4-year drinking vacation. Most of the big schools.
Get away from school, from high school. Yeah. Just go drink. Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
Oh yeah. I
mean,
I can see that.
I knew so many kids at OSU that go out drinking like 4 times a night, 4 times a week. It's just
ridiculous.
like
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
No, like you're not. It's like it's a job at that point.
Jeez.
Yeah. Now you wanted a drink there. What kind of drinks do you drink?
What kind of drinks do I drink?
Alcohol beverages. What's your preference?
I did on occasion. My go-to. Maybe I get it from my dad, but Beam and Diet is where
Oh, yeah.
just
Hell yeah.
What is-
Beam and
what-
Diet. Jim Beam.
Really? Jim Beam?
That's my. If I'm gonna have a drink, that's what I'll have.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you,
Dude, that
do you
is
have
the
do you
ticket.
just have them like at night or something, or is it usually when you go out?
I don't go out a lot, but when I do, that's usually what I would drink. Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
So
yeah. I don't have it
That's
every
what I
day.
grew
I'm
up
not,
on.
I'm not on that level.
Yeah.
for sure.
Jim Beam, man.
Dude, my dad got me hooked on that shit too.
Do you?
It is good.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
good. It is for sure.
Have you expanded a little bit? Have you tried any different other?
I've
stuff?
been so against beer, like for the
really.
longest time. Like I don't,
Oh, yeah.
I don't even
Now-
want to
now-
try it.
now
Don't
what
want
kind
it.
of beer?
I don't want it. But recently I've been opening my mind to it, and I'm more would say I'm kind of on the fruitier end, which is weird. I like the fruitier stuff, the more citrusy stuff, but I like the porters, the heavy stuff too.
Yeah.
IPA, stay away.
Oh, dude, IPAs are so good.
But
You know, like
I'm on the same boat.
yeah,
I just don't drink a lot of
people.
beer.
it just fills you up, and then
Yeah.
you can't.
Mhm.
It's just too much
IPAs will
carbs
definitely
for
fill
me.
you up.
Too much carbs.
IPAs
makes
will
my
fill
I know
you
that
up
sounds
big time.
like
Makes my stomach.
No,
hurt.
no, dude. It's 100%. I can't. I drink maybe like if I drink an IPA, I would drink maybe 2 or 3.
Don't get me
I'm
wrong.
like,
I'll drink
I'm
a
done.
if I'm at,
Those are
like go to
heavy.
someone's house and they offer me a beer. Yeah, I'll drink a beer. Definitely. I'm not gonna be rude.
Yeah.
Not say yeah.
That's funny.
But personally, I wouldn't. I'm not a huge beer fan.
Yeah.
Dude, some people drink beer like water though.
Oh boy. Well, it's basically water.
I remember I had
All
a
the
meeting with a company we're
Mercer
talking
County.
to, and literally it's like noon, and we go and we meet for lunch, and these 2 old guys meet with us, and first thing they say is, "Oh, you guys want a beer?" Like, sure, and they're like 4 beers deep already. It's like noon, and I'm
That's
just
ridiculous.
like, "What the
Dude, that's normal for Mercer County though.
Yeah, German,
Super
the
mo-
German
yeah.
blood.
German blood.
Man.
Something like that.
Now, if you have free time, because I know you're busy, busy man, what do you do? What do you do in your free times?
My free time. Well, I just recently moved.
Cat's cradle.
Free time, honestly, it's so refreshing to just like spend time at home and just kind of connect. We've been trying to get better at that, me and fiance, just connecting with like conversation. Like we don't get that. We're always we're together, but we're like not.
Not talking.
So
Yeah.
it's like we just need that time to kind of connect, and
Yeah,
so we've been trying to focus more on that because I know we spend sometimes maybe too much time just working. So trying
And that's
to
the
focus
life
more
of a
on that.
business owner
Yeah.
too. That's
So-
the hard part about it.
Mhm.
And we accept that, but
That's good, dude. That's tough for a lot of people. They
Oh,
can't
yeah.
deal with that.
Especially if you own a business. I mean,
yeah,
it's,
it is tough.
24.
It takes on. There's so much more to it than you would think that there is, and
yeah,
but
The amount of worry that comes with it
that
is
too.
a big thing.
yeah.
that too.
You start worrying about every single thing.
And she has to get on me all the time because like she knows when my mind's still
Oh,
just
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
it, and I'm
yeah.
like, you're right, it is like, but that's yeah. So it's
It's
just about
tough.
kind of controlling that and figuring out how to find that balance. I do think that's important to try to work towards that for sure. But
You want to take a break?
Yeah.
I do gotta take a
Cool.
And we're back.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we're back. We are back. Back from the
back in action.
So you mean you say you teach at school,
I do.
and you want to get into teaching at in the art, right? You wanna
Yeah,
teach art?
you're on track there. So I guess you could say I was one of those that, like I mentioned before, I had my mind kind of all over the place on what I wanted to do. And my whole family teaches. Mom, aunt, brother, sister-in-law. So I have a family of teachers. And I think for the longest time going throughout school, I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. Like, no. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm going to do. And towards the end of my kind of college experience, I'm like, you know what? I end up tutoring. I was asked to tutor a student that was kind of struggling, and I did that. I don't know if that was kind of maybe what kind of set me off there, but I kind of ended up my junior, senior year, I started subbing in the schools locally there, and I just wanted to see if I would like it and kind of something I might want to do. And it turns out I kind of did. And so it kind of led me back to where I am now. Of course, that's the way it would go. But so yeah, now I'm working at the Celina High School, kind of function as a tutor right now, and I want to work towards maybe getting my alternative license to teach art is kind of my maybe end goal here. But right now I'm working as a tutor, and I'm working with our EL program at the high school. Which is with a lot of the Marshall East population, so I'm kind of dealing with some language barriers there, working with those kids and kind of helping them throughout the day. So what I mainly do is kind of push into classrooms and kind of oversee what they're doing and kind of
make sure they're on track.
Basically, I'm their assistant when they need help with something. So. That's kind of what I'm.
Well, dang, how are you gonna be a teacher and run the business and everything?
So yeah, I would love to teach art and kind of be doing that full time. I think I would just really love a day full of creating and being with kids who are doing that. I think there's so much value in it, and I think we're at a time too where you're seeing that. People aren't seeing the value in art and kind of what that can do for your
100%.
mind. And it aggravates me. It really does aggravate me.
Same with music.
You wake up and put your foot on the ground. Like everything you touch like has some sort of creative mind behind it. Literally.
Everything. Your shoes you're wearing, your shirt you're wearing.
Oh, yeah.
And it just drives me nuts because it's just the process of how you go about thinking and developing new ideas that is so important. And you need that in anything that you do. But we're becoming so
robotic.
Let's make some sugar cookies today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're
let's
just
teach you this exact thing and you have to learn it this way, but never really expand your horizons.
Like, let's find a new way.
Yeah.
Let's find a new way to do something. And I think that's why I liked art, is just trying to find something.
Well, I think it's great for
different.
guys, especially because look at how much ADHD, even if that's real or not, look how much of that is being caused to prescribe to kids. Like, imagine if that most of the time it's probably they just have so much energy and they're not really doing anything physically, and that aspect probably would help them learn.
Why not find something that can help you deal with that?
And plus, school, I feel like it's supposed to be, school, in my mind, is supposed to figure out what you want to do with your life. But now it's not really that, because now it's like, here's the tests that you must learn to pass, and it's like, come on,
all for the test.
Every kid is different. You're not going to teach a fish how to climb a tree. Like, that doesn't work. And everyone's there are a lot of people that are like that fish. They're never going to be able to learn how to climb the tree. Oh yeah, but they might be good at like art or something like that.
Yeah, that's like when I was in school, like I didn't want to take art class because it was like, all right, this is what you have to do this week or two, and that was it. And I always thought, well, isn't art like, hell, there's famous art that's just a line.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, then why the heck do I have to do this like thing that you guys want me to do? I don't, but
well, I feel like
so right.
At that point, it's like, if you could draw a line on a paper and it becomes like $1 million painting, yeah, you probably are at the point where you could do that. Because most of the people that do that are like already made these elaborate paintings or whatever.
Yeah.
And where you can actually say if Salvador Dali just drew a couple lines on a paper, you wouldn't have no idea because of all the paintings he had before. It's like, dude, that dude's mind is crazy. Yeah. What does he mean by these 3 lines?
And that's the fun of art, just trying to discover the meaning,
the interpretation of it.
Because someone sets a whatever it may be on a table, maybe it's just a cube. Like that could have just so much more meaning on what they're trying to tell you.
Like one side of the cube might be represent this, like this aspect or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the fun of trying to.
I heard a story. It was more of like a joke, but it was basically this might take a little bit, but it was basically there's a picture or there's a painting, and it was like I think there's like a coal mine or something. No, sorry, it wasn't a coal mine. It was something like business or something. And there was 3 guys, and it showed it showed penis and balls and stuff, and there was 3 guys, and the guy right in the middle, they're all black, and the guy in the middle, the penis was white and black, the penis was white, And so the artist actually came in and started looking at it, and a lady came up, the person who was in charge of the art director, whatever, and he's like, so what do you think about this art piece? And she started to go. She's like, well, I think what the artist was meaning to say was, the rights and the equalities of blacks and this stuff, and how the segregation and all this stuff, and this guy's sitting there and he's like, I painted this, and the only thing I was thinking was the only thing I was thinking was these three guys were in a coal mine, and the middle guy got to go home for lunch.
Something stupid.
Yeah, something stupid.
That's a great story.
Yeah, like the middle guy got to go home for lunch, and you know exactly what that motherfucker did when he went home.
But with that being said, yeah.
like sometimes people, like, yes, they have meaning and stuff, or it has meaning.
It's absurd. Don't get me wrong.
But there are some that are just so simple.
But
and you shouldn't take it.
Is that lady wrong?
I don't know. No, I know.
That's the beauty of art, is because you get to interpret how it makes you feel, and that's the awesome thing.
Well, I think it was just, she was saying the artist was trying to portray this. Like, you don't know what the fucking artist was trying to portray there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We all perceive it differently.
I feel like that's what causes innovation to happen, is just because everyone's interpretation of it is different. Mm-hmm. So somebody might just get a random idea from that. Like a line, they're like, oh, well, I don't even know, dude. That's a little iffy, though. After thinking about it more and more, it's just kind of like, oh, come on, man. Like, some art's dumb as shit. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's like that guy who just like hung a banana on a frame in New York. Went for like $20 million.
Hung a banana on a frame?
Something
it's
like
crazy,
that.
man.
Really? What wasn't there a story where, like, it was at an auction and this really famous picture they got sold for millions and millions of dollars, and the person who painted it was in the auction, and when it was sold,
he destroyed it.
Yeah, he destroyed, like, it shredded.
Yeah,
like the picture was a shred, and it shredded it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it created there was a new picture that was shown behind it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
You could talk even about, like, the Mona Lisa. I wish I could remember better than I do. Kind of bad when it comes to art history stuff, but I remember talking about the Mona Lisa painting and how it's, like, so, like, famous today.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason, like, it was, I guess, famous was because it ended up getting stolen. Like, just things it was because it got stolen. The picture wasn't really meant to be famous in on that category, but it's just funny how
I think
things like that happen. Probably
half of it comes from surviving the ages. Makes it famous. Because let's be honest, like, you've had shit that like in our lifetimes already is done for. Mm-hmm. Like, that's an accomplishment in itself. Lasting, how old is Mona Lisa? Probably a few centuries old.
For you know.
Yeah, and it's weird that, like, most artists become famous after they die.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like 1500s because of Vinci.
But will that happen, like, in this age?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, isn't that guy isn't he still alive?
No, he died.
Oh, well, shit.
Because I was asking that question. My brother used to be a history teacher, and I was asking him that the other day. Like, when will, like, history become, like, irrelevant? Like, what we're knowing now, like, will that matter to someone?
Yes.
Will that be relevant to someone?
I think all history matters somewhat.
I do think we learn from history, but
you learn from your mistakes, and that's what history is.
But how far can you go back to where it's okay? You're telling a kid I understand that you do learn from history and stuff, but it's just kind of it's a weird concept to think about.
The weird thing is,
that's definitely weird to think about that. We're going to be history.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're somewhat out of high school, and the amount of the history we learned. Just think that, say, like the coronavirus, like that history is passing before our eyes. It's not like we need to read a book to learn about it. It's like happening. Mm-hmm. And just think 20 years from now, that'll be taught in a book.
Yeah, I feel bad for the kids that gotta learn all this.
It's just gonna get worse.
Oh yeah, it is gonna get. But
it's just piling on.
But I mean,
that's what I mean. Where do you start?
Yeah,
though?
Where do you start? But I mean, the history sometimes it'll start fading just because we don't know, like, a bunch of history. Like we do have, like, a starting point, sort of like where history, but we don't know other, like, the past stuff. Like, it starts to fade. Like,
the starting point is. How schools are mostly set up in the U.S. is they're based off of Anglo-Saxon traditions, which are like early Germanic traditions and whatever, because that's who the nation was founded on. And so that's a lot of our base is like you learn about Anglo-Saxon tradition. It's like the Constitution is chained by God, like whatever. Even if you don't believe in God, it's just like that's the concept of it. Regardless if you believe in it, here's how it works. Like I don't know, something like that.
Works for me.
What I mean, there's not much of a point to start history, like saying U.S. history. You don't start history before the U.S., obviously.
Yeah.
World history is different. I guess that's why they're separated in their own classes.
Very
But
true.
like you said, what do you teach? But I think that's the point of being a teacher is you pick what you know.
And I think that'll always be changing. I mean, I think what's relevant to students now would be different 10 years from
Like
now.
someone who grew up during World War II is obviously going to have a lot more of an opinion on World War II versus someone who grew up during the Afghan War. Or something like that.
Yep.
You are correct.
That's why those old teachers have such different teaching styles than the new ones. The new ones are really pushed
And you can see
standardized.
it too.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah. Dude, I remember some of those teachers that were like first or second year, and it was to the book. Like everything they did, like their whole synopsis was based off of this is what we're going to learn this week. This is what we learned this week, and this will all end up causing us to be able to pass this test.
And it's
Yeah.
the issue's not them. The issue isn't that they can't. It's just like you said. It all
They're-
goes
Yeah,
back
restricted.
even through like when I went to the police academy, like we had this really. His name was Doc. We call him Doc White because he had a doctorate, but we call him Doc White. He's the oldest, coolest dude, most interesting dude ever. And then compared to his teaching, compared to this brand new guy, first class he's ever taught, he would just sit there and Doc White would just sit there, look back, and just be like, "Well, I remember one time this guy looked at me and said, 'I'm going to take your gun.' I don't care. I'm going to take it. I'm going to shoot you." So Doc White, he would just tell stories, and he'd be like, "So I took that gun. I'm like, here. This is the only farther I'm going to put it. Come and take it." And he cocked it, and the guy said, "I'm done." But he would just tell stories like that.
Yeah.
And the new guy was like, "All right, read out of the book. All right, you read out of the book. You read out of the book. You read out of the book. You read out of the book." And it was terrible. It was boring. But
Well, yeah, dude. Like most of the classes, except like the STEM fields, but anything other than the STEM fields is just storytelling. If you think about it, and the ones that live through that time are definitely going to have the better stories than most people who live through that time. Like my stories I hear from my dad about the 60s are completely different than what I read in the history books. Like it's like a whole different interpretation of it.
yeah.
It's because I mean that's just I guess it's somewhat of a programming. It's like this is what we want people to really learn.
Yeah.
Like this is how we want them to think. We don't want them to think.
100%.
But that's like a whole nother can of worms.
It is.
Did you take classes as a teacher, like for being a teacher, or did you just kind of? Get
I
into
took a
subbing?
few like baseline kind of courses,
Gotcha.
but nothing crazy. So no, I really didn't. But it's so much about anything you do is getting that experience. So I think like doing that, like that subbing and all that's like that was so much just
That's
to
worth so much
be
more.
thrown in all
yeah.
different
Yeah,
grade levels and
absolutely.
just kind of learning. Like you're not going to learn something until you're actually in it
Doing
and
it.
like doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
can
that's
do-
half the problem people
Yeah.
have is they don't want to start it. It's
Right.
like that's the only way you're gonna really.
Yeah.
I learn shit so much better when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When I'm in the situation, I don't learn very well reading a book telling me like,
Yeah.
this is what happens when you boil water. And it's like, why don't we just go out and boil water and see what happens
Yeah.
for ourselves? Like,
That's so great.
Yeah, that comes the part where the stove's hot. Let the kid touch it. He ain't gonna touch it again.
Exactly.
It's hot.
that's how I learned. I
Yeah.
remember when I touched that stove for the first time, my dad didn't say a word to me. And I was like, why is this red? He just looked at me and I go and I touched it. And he goes, that's why. I was like, oh, don't touch red stove.
Yeah. Jeez.
Well, that's how that's how stuff you
That's
really
so-
learn
yeah.
it.
You really learn it. You learn for failure.
Because we're curious animals. We're very curious. We always want to figure out why is that doing that? Like, even if you don't think that, you're on the inside doing.
Always doing it.
Oh yeah, subconsciously.
You're always tearing something apart in your head and then putting it back together how you think it should go.
Yeah.
That's creativity right there.
That's art too. I mean, that's
art,
what
art, you
the
definitely
whole
wanna do it in art.
describing art, interpreting art is tearing it apart and figuring out what each aspect of that art causes you to think.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cool thing about art is everyone thinks something differently when they see something.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now, Braelen, you coach football?
I do coach football. Yes, I coach the freshman team.
Oh, freshman.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So, that's a whole nother thing in itself. Going from like being an active player on the field to completely transitioning your mind to, now I'm delivering the messages and trying to get these kids to do what you want them to do instead of actually going out and doing it yourself. It's been a very...
Dude, that's hard.
It's a learning experience.
You just want to yell. It's like, dude, do this.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
And I guess with that, I want to bring up let's bring up motivation, because I feel like that's that has been a big thing that I've kind of been seeing lately, is getting kids motivated to do it.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like kind of when we were going through, like, it was just there. Like, we wanted to, like, go do it.
Absolutely.
It wasn't like we needed some
I think
outside thing pushing you to do it.
The society now is causing kids, there's too much stimuli. There's too much things you can have a reward feeling from that's causing motivation to drop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think of like porn. Think of how many kids are probably watching porn. That's something that affects your reward system.
Mm-hmm.
Vaping, that's something that affects your reward system. Drinking, that's something that really, watching TV, watching Netflix. And so it's like, why do I want to go and play football and have this reward feeling of being the all-star or whatever when I could just go and watch this Netflix series?
Yeah, it's so
whatever.
much easier, and football's hard. Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what it is. We're having an issue where you should never be scared of going into like a weight room, because it's going to be hard. Like, I don't ever think I ever remember that.
No.
Like, it was a challenge, and you wanted to accept that challenge.
I always
and
try to
get
support
through
people
it.
that come to weight rooms or whatever.
I love me personally, I love the burn of lifting. So,
but that's what you're dealing with. Like, do you want to have 10 hardcore guys or 50, but we're just, we're average?
Yeah.
What do you want? It's like you gotta. It's a tough decision. It's a very tough decision, but.
Have you noticed like a difference in just the kids?
Well, I want to go back to, before I do that, I want to go back to, you kind of mentioned this idea of like this college team beating a professional team. Okay, we all know in our heads, likely not to happen. But I have a definitive story. When I was younger, I remember exactly where I was when this happened. It took place with one of my childhood friends. And I remember we got a big argument about it, and I was so convinced that the Celina football team could beat the Ohio State team. I was probably what, third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But kind of where I'm going with this is like, I think so much, it's so common that like kids just say like, this can't be achieved. Like, we count ourselves out before it even happens.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's
where I had the mindset like, no, like that.
No.
Why not? Like, why can't it be you? Why can't this happen? Like,
go make it happen. I bet there's too much positive reinforcement. Because I know that sounds odd, but it's just like, not everyone's the best. Not everyone's special. That's what happens. Like, that's life. Not everyone's special. You can't fight nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
But though, like, everyone's got their own knack that they'll at least be interested in.
You betcha.
And yeah, I had the same feeling when I was a kid. Like, I always thought, like, man, I know we could be, we could, Ohio State or Celina could beat the biggest and baddest team, because we are the best.
Yeah.
But that drove me. I'm like, I want to be that way. I want to get that good.
I think we lose that. We're like, I think kids go in sometimes and they're defeated. They
already lost before they started the battle.
Yeah.
That's what I always, since I grew up on the farm, it was just like, I was alone most of the time. And like, I luckily had my dad would always just like, hey, I would ask him and be like, hey, can I do this? And he'd say, oh, yeah. He'd support me and do it. And so I would just go out, and I realized how much stuff I actually can do. And a lot of that was just because I was doing it by myself and I figured it out myself. While now it's like you have a third party saying like, oh, you go on the internet and you look on the internet first. And then it's just like, oh, well, the internet says it's not possible, so it's probably not possible. But it's like, no, you got to try it first before you just throw it out the door.
Get my blood boiling.
Gets his blood boiling right there. Yeah, motivation. Like, is it like? I feel like it's definitely gone down. You guys probably see it a lot in high school.
Now, yeah.
Well, here's a question: do you think that goes hand in hand with focus? You think people might just be less focused because there's so many distractions?
Yeah, that's
interesting thought. I didn't think of it that way, but I suppose there's some kind of correlation there. Like for me, motivation, like it was all internal to me. Like I never really had to like show like I'm motivated to do this. Like it was all just
Like,
it was all
deep
internal. Like I want this and this is going to happen kind of thing. I never needed something to get me fired up for a game. It was just going to happen.
Yeah.
And
the killer instinct.
Well, that's because we knew we had to do it. I bet that's what's lost.
Yeah.
Is like it's like, a lot of the time you got to do some shitty things that you don't like to do, but you got to do them, and it's like you got to finish them till the end. And that's like, it's like when I would bale hay, it's like, that shit would be awful, and I would force myself. I'd be like, I'm not gonna just quit right now. But now it's just like you people just, all right, nah, I don't really feel like it.
Yeah,
it's like, who cares if you feel like it? Sometimes you got to do it.
Just do it, man.
I helped out with bullpups, and there was a kid right in the middle of some drill, and the kid just ran off because he heard his phone, looked at his phone.
Dude, I'm
like, what are you doing?
That's what I mean, focus. That's what I mean, focus.
You're in the middle of...
Their focus is not there.
I don't know. I was just... Now, I've heard... This is just what I've heard. I've heard it's the coaches. I don't believe it. I really don't, because I know the coaches, and I know they have fire.
That's lying to themselves.
It is. What could you say about that? Because I know personally all of you guys, all of my coaches, and it is not the coaches.
Let me take that back. If like you can have shitty coaches, don't get me wrong.
You can.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm not saying it's like they're not the ones playing the game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was going to go with it. Coaches can do everything to kind of put the pieces where it lays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
there's a moderator.
Exactly. And I had this kind of conversation with a couple of them today. We're going to give you this is your team. Like you make it what you want.
We're
just here to kind of assist you and help you.
Yeah.
And it should be a player run thing. It should be when it's all said and done. If good teams are ran by the players and they're controlled by the leaders of those groups.
Maybe that's a problem. Maybe there's not enough leaders. Maybe the school system is not creating leaders; it's creating
robots. It's already because it's just. I mean, they're forced to just like you said. It's based off of Ford. Ford.
Yeah, Henry Ford made the education system.
Stay in this line right there.
And then No Child Left Behind. Now it's like you can't. Now it's not really a meritocracy, meaning the survival of whoever's the best does it. Like that's how it should be, in my mind at least. And I think that's how most people. It's like if you're good at rocket science, do the rocket science because I don't know. I'm not very good at rocket science. Like, that's almost that No Child Left Behind in the '90s. Really, screwed the whole mentality up.
Now, I think a lot of the mentality is so. It's self-focused to a point where it's, I don't know. I want to say when I went into a game, it was about team. I want to sacrifice myself for a weekend. I don't know. A lot of times I don't.
It's like when you got
always
hurt.
Get that. I'm not gonna put my body on the line. I don't get that sense all the time that I'm gonna put my body on the line for my brothers.
It's like football. I would get hurt, and then I'll just be like, I can't stop now. It doesn't matter if I'm hurt or not. It's like
you just limp it off.
I just feel bad because I'm letting down. But now it's probably it's like, oh well, I got hurt, and it's like I'm gonna take a couple weeks.
And people
off.
look at this game and think, well, we're just crazy. I think there's so much that football can teach you, and just sports in general, but.
And I think the worst thing nowadays is the whole concussion deal. I get it that concussions are awful and everything, but it's like you have the choice to play or not play. Don't play if you don't want to. Yeah, there's always risk in everything. There's a risk crossing the road. You might get hit by a car.
There's that, and then there is stupidity. Exactly. When I get the idea, I know why the rule was put in place. I get it when we're launching ourselves like a torpedo and trying to take someone out. But there's also taking that Ohio State game. That was in my mind, a perfect tackle. How he was taught to tackle with his head up, And it's so
That was a
frustrating
bad call. Terrible call.
Dude, the problem
but
is
it wasn't a bad call because that's what the rule
was created. Yeah. Well, it's just like half of it is you have people making
just-
rules that don't even never played it before.
Play without helmets, I guess, is what we do.
Yeah,
I don't
dude.
know.
Like that's what
Yeah.
I mean. If you don't want people to hit with their head, don't put helmets on them.
I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. Like you're probably not going to lead with your head if you knowing that you don't have something to stop the impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it is coming soft. I mean,
Just think about leather helmets, dude. They were using
leather
helmets.
We
Yeah.
can't even put ourselves there. We don't even have a clue.
No, yeah, dude.
But like today, like if you watch like just from like stories of like Michael Jordan and like Scottie Pippen and all those like old players, and now like LeBron James. From what I heard of like Michael Jordan, like he had so much of a killer instinct. He would talk he was the biggest.
He was a shit talker.
He was a shit talker, but if you pissed him off, I'm gonna come right at you. I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck you up. Like I will score 100 on you because you told shit.
That's that testosterone drive. That's just like you
yeah.
have to beat this fucker now. It's
Now-
like you
now-
are the stronger man.
Yeah. Or like if they're down, he would come and destroy.
Yeah.
Now I remember watching
Oh,
LeBron
God.
James in one of his games, and they were down, and I saw him walking.
Dude, like half the NBA games, it's like
Are you kidding
it's just
me?
like shoot around for the 3 quarters and then the last quarter. Yeah, then we'll play a game.
I got a story with that too. My mom actually told us the other day. So when I was younger, honestly, I hated football. I was all about soccer. Like you
Yeah,
couldn't have me
yeah.
touch a football for my life.
I never
depended
played a
on it.
lick of soccer in my life.
I had really long hair, like
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
girly long hair. All right.
I remember that.
And I remember this match where this kid said, basically called me out, like, "Are you a girl or a boy?" Like, and I was like, and I basically said, "I'm gonna show you what I am," basically. And I remember that game, like, I just had the urge, like, I'm basically gonna
Oh yeah.
show you like
Yeah.
everything I have.
He lit a,
And I think
fire under your ass.
I ended up going and scoring. I think it was like 5 goals and a couple. Like I literally went off just on him, but it was just that moment. I got so much emotion.
It's a
just
killer
from thinking of it.
I think kids nowadays don't have that killer instinct anymore. They're just like
Because there's no need for it. Let's be honest.
it's stupid.
Or maybe, here it might be deeper. Maybe it's because the amount of single mothers. There's no masculine figure in people's life. Their single motherhood is retarded high right now. It's gone up since the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that masculine aspect is lost with it. Is needed to create that drive.
Yeah, I don't even think. I that could have a problem, but I don't think that is. I don't think it is either.
I mean, I grew up as a mama's boy for sure.
Oh yeah, so did I.
I was.
1/3
So
of
was I.
U.S. children are living with an
I don't think I
unmarried
ever
spouse.
had like, you He-Man, like go do this.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
No, yeah.
I never had that kind of. No, I didn't.
Well, just think of everything like in history has been based off of a paternal look at all religion. All religion's based off a paternal figure, like a masculine figure.
Yeah.
But there's also a feminine figure. Look at, I mean, the Tao symbol, the yin yang symbol is literally in Taoism is the masculine and feminine. It's like those two aspects are needed for next to be created, I guess. But I mean, it's because then you'll have, the thing is, then you'll have those moms who are really manly or whatever. So what about that? But I don't know. That's a tough one. That's more of like not that the problem is deeply rooted. It's not just that. It's like you can't just snap your fingers and say, "Oh, single motherhood's like solved."
But like nowadays, like I'm hearing stories that I thought would never happen, like kids just quitting like their senior year of sports, kids just like they don't want to do it anymore. Like my senior year of like this is my I was playing, I wanted to win and everything, but like senior year, like oh boy, like this is time. Like I'm a big boy now. I'm gonna do this, and it's not there anymore.
Well, maybe and we could just be. We are just the boomers now that are just bitching about the younger generation having like we're at that point.
Maybe
Like, that's also a
know.
possibility because times changed. I mean, like times do change. 50 years ago, 10 years ago, you could still get spanked by your principal. Now you'd never see that.
No.
Bring it back.
Yeah,
There's
somewhat of a
issues
dude.
there.
That's what I mean. There's no. I feel like there's a lot of respect that's not as respect is somewhat lost now. is like, because I always grew up, it's like you respect your elders. Like they're the ones with the most life experience. Like you don't really know shit compared to, like they could be dumb as a board, but they've experienced enough life where they know what they're, certain things they know exactly how you do them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, but respect, like, is it hard to get respect from kids in those kind of areas?
I would say it's hard. You have to go about it in a different way. And every kid's different and how you can kind of relate to them. But I think that's been kind of our approach, or at least kind of what I've gotten the last couple of years, is try to get to know these kids and build relationships, and rather just being this guy above saying, do this, like try to get to know them and build that relationship. And I think you're going to get more from people who are willing to, because I know when we went through, like, we're coachable. Like, you're going to do what you're told to do. Like, that's kind of like your nature. I'm going to, all right, you want me to do this? I'm going to do it. Like, there was no questions asked. So it's about kind of building those relationships with them. And that's where you build your trust and where you...
Well, just think like 50 years ago, you'd sometimes have, like, not 50, probably 67 years ago, you'd have the same teacher all through grade school. Like, there would just be a one classroom schoolhouse. Like, Neptune used to have a decent school, but, like, my grandpa went to a one-room schoolhouse entire life until he graduated high school at 16. He went, and that's, like, that smaller class, like, you get more of a more better connection. Like you said, like, you get to know the teacher a lot better. It's not just, like, you're not just another fish in the pond.
Yep.
Yeah. That would be weird to just... one school, like there's a couple still in Mercer County, like, but they're just sitting there.
Oh yeah,
there's a couple.
What's your greatest, like, sports, like, memory, or like what's one that, like, just always kind of stands out to you? It could be anything.
One sports that stuck out.
It could be the smallest minute thing, or it could be this more elaborate story.
No, it's actually was. One that it sort of just, like, pissed me off. Like, it became where like this is the time where I need to step up. It was actually a bad call. It was a Shawnee game. I think it was my sophomore year, actually. No, sorry, it was junior year. But it was junior year, and dude, I was like a yard behind the guy I was guarding. I was DB, and I jumped up like this, and I, like, dropped it. But they called a flag. They called a pass interference, and I wasn't even close, and I was so pissed off, dude, that, like, the next play, I just ran in there as fast as I could, and just, like, don't lower your head. I just lowered my head, and I just ran into whoever was in front of me, and I'm like, man, I can do this now. I can hit someone. If I really wanted to hit someone, I'm gonna hit someone. That was, and that was from that point on. Like, I just felt like, all right, I can play with these guys now. I can hit someone.
That's awesome.
I know I can. And yeah, that was just a point in time of...
I hear you, dude.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It's eye-opening realizing that you could actually, like, destroy some... Like, you just hit them as hard as you can. It's like, you're moving faster than them, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Once you learn that, then you're all hands on deck. You're just going to go out and blow someone up.
Yeah, pay attention in physics class. You're going to do all right.
What's yours? What's your favorite moment?
Oh, it honestly probably goes back to Pee Wee football. Honestly, I wish I could, like, remember, like, more of it. But I remember we went to a tournament in Troy.
Oh yeah, I remember the Troy tournament.
Yes, and we were coached by Larry Miller, who was a hardcore to the bone kind of. I mean, he would grab your face mask, grab it,
in
and
your
be
face.
spinning.
Oh,
but
yeah.
and from a
Greatest coach
person
I've
who's
ever
coming
had.
from playing soccer to having that my second year, like, you would think, oh, this kid would not love. I enjoy, like, I loved that. Like, for whatever reason it was, it
Dude, we
became
were unstoppable too.
We went into that tournament, and I remember, like, we were not supposed to, like, have a chance in God's country to try to win a game there, because we were, this tiny, puny team. But I tell you what, Larry had us basically, he had us achieving more than we thought we could achieve.
Yeah.
Is basically kind of what it amounts to. And
Dude, I remember when I played on Larry's team, and we would utterly destroy
We didn't just
every
win, like-
team we play. Like when I say destroyed, like we beat team 60-0.
That was I remember that was our championship game when we played Troy, who was just got off winning, and I remember it. They just got off winning another championship.
I didn't go to Troy when I practiced because I was on Celina Red.
Yeah, you're right.
And then the next year when they combined them, that's when I went. You were already.
Yeah.
But I remember practicing and shit. Dude, that was another. Troy was fun.
It was fun.
Dude, that was
So
my
what
first
was that?
exposure to like playing people outside of like our area
Yeah.
that we normally played. And that was big too, because that wasn't just like you're not just playing people from Coldwater or something.
Yeah.
You're playing someone from like hours away.
Yeah.
Completely. Like, you're never gonna play them again in your life.
That was so much fun.
Was that the
Oh, I have so many memories, but that
memory-
was
the-
that was
the-
one
probably the
that I
best.
always think of.
was it hitting me only in your face, or was it just the winning of the?
No, it's kind of that underdog story where,
Yeah.
and I always think like you always perform best when you have that doubt kind of in front of you.
Yeah,
and-
my biggest memory, I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite memory, but I remember my freshman year and I was working out in the weight room. That was just when I was like the second year I was really big into lifting, whatever. And I remember the training room door was open and a couple of the coaches were talking in the training room. And I remember one of the coaches was like, yeah, I don't think Townsend will ever see the varsity field. And that pissed me off. I was just like, what a dickhead. I was like, come on, man. Like, I'm not even done with my freshman year yet. Like, that lit a fire under my ass
Isn't
for
that
sure.
amazing?
Which is
And
like,
from there, it was
things.
over. Like you knew
yeah, I
it
was just like, all right, I'm just going to prove you wrong then, man.
Yeah.
Like,
The
I'll let you
small-
eat your own words.
Yeah.
And that's just your mind, man. That's the power of the mind. And
I would rather win by what you do, like win by action rather than words. You know what I mean?
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Those stupid. Yeah. Oh, another thing. That just reminded me. Those stupid little sayings that like like moms or dads would always tell you, like teachers, like patience is a virtue. Actions speak louder than.
right.
Or yeah, they're all perfect. Like that's how you're supposed to live your life.
The weird
and
thing is
it's
we don't
like,
treat them. Those
no.
things are proverbs.
Yeah.
Like they were for the most history. They were called proverbs. Like, and we don't even treat them like we just treat them as like another like a saying. or something.
Yeah, I remember that saying.
It's
Yeah,
like
that's
that
the-
shit
yeah.
was passed down. Like some dude
yeah.
was just sitting there. He's like, huh. Patience is a virtue. And he's like, oh, I'm going to tell everyone I know about this.
Yeah.
And then it became some
Yeah.
proverb or some shit.
I got one I'll add to your list. This is a coach who actually ended up recruiting me, kind of ish. Coach, his name was Coach Willwall, and went by Coach Woo. Great
Coach
guy,
Woo.
great guy. Loves the game of football, and
Yeah.
you can just tell like his life's like in that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
really developing kids and stuff. And stuck with me since my freshman year on what he said, and that statement was, I think it was even before a game, and it went something like, "What your heart possesses, like your heart expresses," basically. And it was simple, but that one I've always kind of held on to because it's so true. Like what you're gonna put in your heart is what you're gonna, that's what you're gonna strive for, and what you're gonna put your focus on.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I love that phrase and kind of have held on to it for a while, for sure.
Say the phrase again.
What the heart possesses, the heart expresses. So, yeah.
So it's basically like what's really deep down in your heart
Basically.
is like what you don't really see it, but it truly
Yeah. Because what motivated you? Let's go back to like a Friday. Like what motivated you on a Friday night? What was really fueling you? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but like what was your?
I don't know. I think it was just like there was always an energy like within the locker room, within on the field, like the coaches, everyone was so fired up that like it got me fired up, and like I'm very competitive. Like I want to win. I don't want to lose. And that was just another thing, and just like when the lights come on and you're and everyone's watching you, dude, and it just feels so good, and you're just like, let's go, and you get pumped. I lived for that when I played.
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
Dude, I was kind of like the opposite. I really honestly didn't care about the lights and whatever. I just like playing. I just like really.
Just doing it.
Yeah.
It's weird too. It's like, sorry, I know you're gonna say
No,
it,
you're
but, it's weird. Like I never heard the crowd. Like even in like those like
I
in
never
the field
did.
house, like how small it is, I never heard the crowd. I never heard the crowd. It was always very silent because I was so focused. Focused goes back to what you said.
Yeah.
I was so focused on the game. Like all I didn't hear the crowd. I didn't hear anything. Maybe like the huge cheers or something I would hear, but like I would never hear and like even especially in football. I never heard the crowd. Never heard anyone.
I do remember hearing my name. That's one thing I do remember.
That's
about the only-
you heard 108 times your senior year.
Right. I just because it's just somebody saying your name. It's just like, oh wait,
Yeah.
that's not. They don't want me.
I guess when you say like lights, like I think it came down to a lot for like you do it for like your family, which seems weird. Like I'm playing this sport for but you do like it's deep down. You're like, I want to do it for my family, like for this town. Like you feel like connected in that way.
Me, it was more.
Energy,
I wasn't
man.
necessarily my family. It was more of just proving to myself, like, I could. If I want to actually be good at this, I could be good at it.
Yeah.
And just the brothership because you spent a lot of time in football.
Oh, yeah,
practice, a long
yeah.
time in the,
That's. I mean that competitiveness.
Let's add up the hours.
Oh boy, a lot of hours.
That's the other thing. It probably makes it even more meaningful, just because you know how much time you put into it. There's dozens of hours.
If you break into my lockbox at home, I have.
Where is it? Where is that?
I have. Well, you're gonna find old video, like football videos.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Just because there's so much time invested to it, and it's.
Well, it's
been
also
on
it's like that was a large chunk of your life.
Oh yeah.
Like your life, like it wasn't just like some accolade or something. Like this is a real thing that you did for years, and it was it was a very impactful thing. I think everyone should hold on to those things that are impactful. And,
Yeah.
like
I agree.
because everyone's different. Like some people didn't have a great experience with football. Like and they might have something else that impacted them even more. I don't know. It's an interesting football is.
Well,
I think not just football. It's all sports create this.
Well, I forget what coach told me, but he said, think about all the sports that you ever played. Football is the most emotional sport you can play. Like, and I felt it. Like when I played football, like
I know
felt
those tennis people make some noises like they're pretty emotional.
Well, like you just feel emotions when and like basketball and like I played basketball. I played a bunch of other sports, but I never really felt that deep down emotion as I did when I played football.
Me, it was mostly just anger.
I was just say that, friend.
It's like
I was just like,
violence.
this
I can
bastard
see that,
thinks he
friend.
can do more than me. Bullshit! Like, I'm gonna lay you on your ass.
But that's
Like,
funny though, because like I would say like outside of football, like I'm a completely different personality than when that game's on. Then you're just like
You're in a
said.
primal,
Yeah.
like a primal setting.
That's
It's
so
like
funny
you
you talk
become
like-
this primal. Because like we were talking about before, like after looking back on it, when I played, I didn't really think about what I was doing. Like it was all intuition. Like I was just doing what my mind was telling me to. I wasn't telling myself to do it. It was just like something was there directing me at least. I don't know. It's weird. Your subconscious was probably.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so many points where I was just like, I don't know how I did that, to be honest. Like, that was completely in the moment. Like, that's the only way I would be able to do that was in the moment. It's like I suplexed a kid. Like, I had never suplexed a kid before in my life, but I've saw people suplex kids, and I was like, it can't be that hard.
It felt right, huh?
So I was just like, oh, screw it. Try to suplex him.
Yeah. Dude, I remember watching you though when I was like a freshman and even a sophomore, even though I played a little bit though. I always watched Braelen Bader, man. You were fucking good at football. Like it was fun watching.
Appreciate that.
You were an athlete, dude. You were born to be an athlete.
Okay, I maybe a little, but I think when it came
Genetically,
down,
let me just say genetic. I'm not saying personality wise.
well, yeah, we're definitely born
we're all
with.
like, yeah.
We're born with.
Some people
you
are better at sports.
You are.
Yeah.
And but I feel like, for me, it was always like I know throughout school, like it was always my mission to be like the best practice player I could be out there and just kind of lead by that every day. It didn't matter what day you're doing because you're doing the same things over and over every day.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
we start our day out doing the same stretch drills, going right into warming up your feet as a receiver, catching. It was always the same thing. But are you going to perform like? Are you going to come at that and attack that every day, or are you just going to kind of?
Dude, I noticed that too. Like if you're not. I always practiced somewhat. I was kind of a dick during practice because I went all out.
Yeah.
And dude, I could notice like those some weeks where you didn't go all out in practice. You're just not all the way there.
That is so true.
That kind of taught me like if you're gonna do anything, you got to do it as much as you possibly can. Like right when you half-ass something, somebody's gonna pass you.
Yeah.
Like that's how it all works. If you're not doing it 100%, then you're not really doing it. It's like if you're not all focused and trying to actually do it, then what's the point?
Yeah,
I agree with you.
There's a root word. There's a Greek root word for motivation, and I'm pretty sure that the definition of that root word is move. It's literally move, and we moved. I mean, when we were just like you guys was talking, you guys did it. Like you guys need it like for practice. Do it and do it to your best ability. Move, motivation. I mean, we had motivation. I heard this off a Jocko Willink podcast.
It was first used in 1873. No way. I definitely I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's move. I like it was something that literally means it was Greek.
Yep, to move.
Yeah, to move.
It's Latin.
Yeah, it's Latin.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That sounds like a new tattoo right there.
Hell yeah.
That's not a bad
tattoo.
idea.
Would you ever get a tattoo?
Gosh, I don't know.
Dude, some people just want to get a
Not that I love tattoos. I love tattoos. I do.
That's just not me. I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
I don't know if it look good on me as well.
I think it would look good on you. But
some people.
So, would you get one?
It'd have to be the right thing.
The right
I'd have
thing?
to know. Like I would know it when I.
I think the only time I would get a
Okay.
tattoo is if I joined part of the military or something that like
Pretty sweet. Like the
that much. Like the Navy men would get the seamen get anchors on their shoulders. Whatever.
There's the pararescue, Air Force
exactly.
pararescue. They get a. I heard this a story. They all get the big green giant tattooed on their ass. Yeah, it's pretty sweet actually. But
That's sweet.
So if you did,
Ooh.
just right now, what would you get?
I don't know if I'm capable of answering that.
I would get a Pinocchio
Because
right above my crotch. So whenever I tell a lie,
Jeez.
no, I'm joking. I would get a rocket ship.
I don't know. It would be something like completely unique, to me. Like I know it would be like I'd have it designed just to kind of it would be different. Like I don't know what it would be, but
mine would just be something that I always want to remember. Like if I did get one, like the Navy, like the seamen get the anchor, whatever. Like that's something that it's just like you spend a lot of your life doing this.
Yeah.
Remember it,
And then you instantly connect with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's about
I can see that.
how I would. Some people are. That's just a way of expressing themselves. Some people get them to express themselves. All power to them. To each their own. If you want to go out and get a tattoo, I'm not. I just personally wouldn't do it.
Yeah. People.
Okay, give me your perspective.
Well, yeah. What's your? What would you want it? What would?
Talk about what you have.
Yeah.
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're starting a sleeve, right?
Yeah, I want to do a sleeve. I already have a half sleeve. It's a Spartan with an AR. Well, the Spartan, I've always been crazy intrigued with Spartans, just how disciplined and how big of a warriors they were.
Dude, they were insane.
And
I've always throw their kids out in the wilderness.
Oh yeah, and they look badass.
Yeah,
they look sweet as shit. But I've always been intrigued just on how like disciplined and stuff like that they were, and I want to be that. I want to be very disciplined in what I do and then the AR. I just thought that would look cool, and I'm obsessed with guns. I love looking at them. I love designing, looking at them and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
that was one thing, and then the next one I want to get is I want you to maybe do it is since the car crash, I. Definitely a guardian angel has been looking over me, or God has been looking over me. So I want to get like a silhouette of a Spartan, which is basically this one, and then with like maybe like the wings coming out from the Spartan,
Ooh.
or like maybe like a a guardian angel kind of looking over me or something. He's in like the wilderness with it's like a silhouette of the.
Or like a Spartan helmet with a gash, like it got a sword hit through it, and it's got a halo.
Yeah, for real.
That's the great thing. It's another thing about art, man. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. And dude, my mind has gone like 20 different things, like actually not thousands of different things on what I could do, and it's sweet. But
it's just like, to me, tattoos are just another canvas. It's like your body's your canvas. Like that, I just don't like using my body as a canvas. I'll just use something else.
Yeah.
But that's like, what do I mean? Some people, it's like you has meaning. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get a tattoo about that, like, yeah, definitely. All the power to you.
Now, who'd you actually get him done by?
Logan DeLong.
Is it Logan DeLong?
Logan.
I thought I recognized.
Yeah.
He has a distinct style.
Yeah, he does.
Which is really cool.
It's a dot style.
Yeah.
It's badass. Yeah, he did this one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's so good.
He'd be a
at
good
that.
one to talk to if you haven't.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear his kind of story on
Yeah.
I would love to bring Logan along. He's
Definitely.
super humble now. Like,
Yeah.
like super
Well,
mellow.
he
man.
probably
Like,
talks to people from such different walks of life.
oh yeah.
Because you're talking about a tattoo artist. It's like you can have. Think about some of the people that are covered in tattoos. Like, they probably have some crazy stories.
Yeah.
There's so many people that get tattoos that they have crazy ass stories.
Yeah.
Their own experiences, I guess.
Yeah.
Tattoos are cool.
The walk of life, man.
I don't think, and the thing to me is like, it's weird to me. It's asking for approval about that, because to me, it's just like, if you want to do it, do it. Like, you don't need to ask me to think if it's good or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I just ask for like ideas or something. Input.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what do you think this would look good with? But
Well, no, I agree with your statement, because I think a lot of my hesitancy would come from like that perception of like, more so like my
How
family.
do I
like,
look to everyone?
well, yeah,
else?
like
yeah.
you got like that's why care about.
Yeah, it's because like it's like this podcast. It's like half the problem was just doing it, starting it, like talking about it, doing, because it's like you always will have those people that just don't want you to succeed. There always will be that. I mean, it's like that football story. It's like there always will be someone, and it doesn't matter what you do, that it will be jealous or whatever.
Gotta have them though.
Yeah, and that's what drives it. Yeah. It's like you want. To me, I've always the underdog. You
Bring
just
it on.
so much more motive. It's like you want to prove people wrong. You want to.
Yep.
yeah. Oh yeah. Man. Motivation.
Motivation.
Move. Just move.
I like that. I could see that to move.
And
That's a really good. That's a.
yeah. Like Jocko Willink.
He's a crazy.
He's a
dude.
sweet dude.
Is,
And he always said, like, if you don't know what to do, move. Just put your foot in front of the other and move, and something will come.
the biggest thing I had someone tell me was,
Motivation.
if you don't want to do something and you have to, just do it for 5 minutes, and you'll end up like completely getting lost in it. All it takes is 5 minutes just to start something.
Yeah.
Half the battle is just starting it. It's not about the route you take while you're doing that, but it's just starting it is the hardest part. Is people that scares them or something. It's odd.
Yeah, it is odd. What something that you could give to people, something like life motivating maybe, that you've experienced that just kind of gave you this motivation that you have right now? Because you seem like a very motivated person.
That's deep right now.
It is.
It's like a drive.
I want to bring it a little deeper.
I'm like a
here.
thinker. Like I have to like kind of just think.
No, absolutely. Think about it.
It's an interesting question.
And it might come. It might come as we talk here. I'm gonna take you back to kind of like my senior show, which is weird that I'm going back there right now.
What senior show?
But a senior show for like an artist in school is like your big thing.
Your
like,
best work.
kind of what you
The best.
prepare for over those 4 years.
Yeah.
And I've kind of mentioned the word process, which was kind of the baseline like for my show. And I'll read this. I said the baseline for my show is the belief that positive growth only happens through process that is intentional, consistent, and disciplined. Therefore, you must earn what you get. And these were kind of like the concepts that kind of like fueled my theme.
Struggle is what causes growth.
Yeah.
The struggle
Yes.
is half the half the journey.
So which was very unique for like my show is if you were an outsider and you walked in to the studio space, you would have instantly thought like this football, like just straight football. So what I had done is basically I brought in some turf I ended up finding some in Indianapolis. So like actual turf, black pellets and all.
Yeah.
And sodded the whole floor of the gallery.
What?
So the whole floor kind of became like
Your art. That
my
was
practice
art.
field.
Nice. Cool.
So, and kind of some things that went along with that, and kind of like repetition was like a very, very big thing, and that kind of comes with the nature of mold making. So I made molds I'll give you an example. One was for a trophy. So I basically kind of repeated this process hundreds and hundreds of times to create these trophies. I end up setting them on a shelf. So we think trophy. What do you associate with trophy?
Winning.
Achievement.
Right. And I think that's kind of what I had for the longest time in my mind was you want to achieve just this thing that says I'm a winner. And I think kind of as I went through my collegiate career, that kind of went away some, where it didn't really become about the winning itself, but like how you got there, the process of it.
Yeah. I like
So
that.
I had this whole big shelf of whatever 100 trophies or whatever it was, all the same. They're all painted gray, and everyone looked the same. I had some laying on the floor like they were dead and broken, so they kind of became like these shadows, and it wasn't so much more about this tangible object that says, hey, look here, I'm a winner. It was more about that, how did you get there kind of thing.
Nice.
A similar piece I had was and very time intensive. I rotocasted these plaster footballs. So I took a football, made a mold out of it using like a silicone rubber kind of thing. And
Dude, that's hard. That shit's hard.
I probably
too.
took
It's not easy making molds, dude.
per football I made, probably you have at least an hour in it in making that
Dang.
football. And I made over 100 of those for my show.
Man.
And so they were my show was all very interactive based. So I wanted people to kind of be able to grab things, kind of be a part of it.
That's you. That's what
Right.
you like.
Yeah.
That's your.
So these plaster footballs anyway, people could grab them, and I had performed. I made like a little video of me like practicing routes on the field, so people could grab these footballs, and they basically were throwing them to my digital self, and then just basically shattering so like,
them.
kind of the idea was so much time was put into this little thing, and for them to be
Man,
like
yeah.
kind of destroyed, maybe a representation of like all the balls you didn't catch and kind
Yeah.
of overcoming that.
Well, that's
kind of
life,
thing.
Man,
too.
dude,
There's
that
a lot
is
of
so
times-
great.
Most of life is not
Right.
rainbows.
Oh,
Right.
It's
fuck.
And that's
It's
kinda
not.
what-
The majority of life. is-
picking the pieces back up and putting
Yeah.
them back together and restarting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a lovely interpretation. I'm glad you kind of interpreted that way.
Yeah,
but,
dude.
so that's kind of what that was about. And just what I ended up kind of discussing was my art was really about like how I got everything there, more so like what it looked like. Like it was about me getting these, if you would imagine, how long is this room?
20 feet.
Okay,
30
so we
feet.
get these rolls of turf. Okay, so I didn't actually get to go there to get them loaded on the trailer. So they got loaded on with these
those are
forklifts,
big.
basically. Can't imagine how heavy per piece that these
Dude,
were.
I took a
fucking
turf
shit.
science.
Like, we're
I took a
talking
turf
thousands of
management
pounds.
class in college, and holy shit, those things are a lot bigger than you realized.
But anyway, my stepdad had a big help. My dad had a big help of getting them to my actual studio location. The day that they got there, it was snowy, wet and snowy. Had to back this trailer because my show was still like a month out. So we had to like store these in the back
Oh, dang.
of the studio for a bit. And okay, like how are we going to get these? We could not budge them
Yeah, I was
on
going
the
to say,
trailer.
you probably need a.
We could not move them. I had to have the whole
Dang.
football team just to get them like off the trailer.
Yeah,
Dang.
they're like a thick rubber pad.
So we were freezing. Our hands were like, we couldn't get them off, but we had to get them off that day. And kind of ended up, I'm like, we had to figure a way to get these because we could not handle them.
Dude,
way
it's like
they
the
were.
wrestling mats.
Yes.
It's like how heavy the wrestling
Oh,
mats
yeah,
are.
Yeah.
Like they are extremely heavy.
Yeah. So imagining like a 20-foot roll, we had to end up cutting them into thirds,
I was
basically,
gonna
to get them.
say.
And I end up, it
Damn.
became a workout. So it kind of became part of my show to like get them in. So I had to roll them onto like a little dolly
Yeah.
cart and each piece to get them in there and to get them to form that field. But
Dude, cutting them is probably a
that was
challenge in
hard, too.
itself.
That was very hard.
I know how thick that stuff
Yeah.
is.
That stuff's messy.
And that was for your senior show?
That was for my senior show. I still
Man,
have the turf
that's
to this
awesome.
day, so it's come home. It's been still making art, still moving it, and still part of the whole process. It will be used
process
again.
of life.
It was just something that reminds you
Yeah.
of that. It's like I took a pylon from the end zone my
Yeah.
senior year of football. You know, I still got it somewhere. I'm just like, yeah, this would be a good memory. I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have. But
Don't tell anyone.
You'll
now
be all
everyone
right.
knows.
Yeah, screw it. What are they gonna
Probably
do?
earned it.
Oh yeah. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But
Man.
so you did the trophies. Did you do anything else other than the trophies football?
So
tournament?
yeah, you're probably asking why are there ceramics involved? There were some ceramics. So the way that my ceramics came into play, there was like this whole wall, probably the length of what we're in here now, wide.
Dang.
I painted that all with like chalkboard paint. So it became like my chalkboard in
Yeah,
terms of like
yeah,
writing
yeah.
plays, drawing plays up. I kind of want to relate to like that old time,
yeah.
kind of going back, but kind of your process of practicing drawing up plays and kind
5
of
circles
learning.
on a chalkboard.
But the unique thing was I had these stands basically that my ceramic pieces were standing on. Well, they're right in front of this chalkboard. Where they met up with the chalkboard, they became the chalkboard too. So people were interactively drawing on these pieces and became. Now you're getting this chalkboard that's kind of 3D and in
Yeah.
the round and kind of
Nice.
your perception that, you know what, when you draw a play on a sheet of paper, and we're learning it this way, and this is the way it's supposed to be. When you get on the field, it's not like that at all.
No,
It's
no,
completely
no.
different, and you're like you said, intuition has to kind of kick
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
and you have to kind of adapt on the fly. So I was kind of playing with that idea that you got this paper play here. What? How much does that mean until you get on the game and you have to react to things and kind of go on the fly, kind of thing.
Something just going over in your head is nowhere
Wow.
close to actually going
Right.
and doing it.
Yeah,
Everything's like that too.
Yep.
It's like, why do you think you experiment in science class?
Yep.
Because we've learned that, like, you're probably not going to realize how dangerous hydrochloric acid is until you dissolve something in it.
Yeah.
Jeez. And then when everyone left my show or came in, I had everything. Like I said, was about repetition. I made like 250 like medals out of ceramics. So everyone left with like a medal. It was kind of like a play on this like a trophy handout kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Like, here
yeah,
you go.
yeah,
You
yeah.
came to the show. Here's a medal
Congrats.
for what you did. But kind of playing with that idea that
Reminds me of, dude, that's straight up like at art galleries. Exactly how art galleries do it.
hmm
They have their, like, sometimes they'll have like a full room where somebody just makes it into their own art piece.
Yeah.
Dude,
It was a lot of fun.
I don't know. That sounds like a sweet life. Like, I don't know how to explain it. That was like perfect. That was life. He just explained.
Well, that's
life.
what
Like, you
football-
gotta-
I mean,
there's
that's
a
what football
process,
is.
and
That's
there's
what
a struggle,
football meant
and-
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
And just think, if you didn't play football, none of that would have transpired.
That's
None of
so
it would have
weird,
happened.
Too. That's so weird.
Just
Yeah.
one little decision in your life can change the outcomes of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Butterfly effect.
butterfly effect. Heck yeah.
You remember that
Ain't it
movie?
True. I know of
From
the
the
movie.
90s?
I've never seen it.
Kill a butterfly, he caused World War III. Some shit like that.
Is that the way it works?
Nah. I don't know. I feel like it could. Imagine if somebody killed Hitler. How much stuff would have changed?
hmm
Oh yeah. A lot of things would.
Little decisions like that. The same
Small
with, and
things.
that's just on a large scale. Like
Mhm.
little decision in your life can matter.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I always try to think before I make a decision.
Yeah.
We're very consumeristic today.
I would say I'm more so like my fiance's exact opposite. Like when I want to do something, like I just kind of go and figure it out as I go. Where she wants to kind of think it through and like.
Oh no!
see it.
In a process,
Oh.
I'm on the same boat. But
Yeah.
like if I'm buying something, I always gotta.
Oh,
if I
well,
buy
yeah.
if I buy this item, then it might be it's a little more expensive. And then
For
blah, blah,
sure, you have to have
Yeah,
that.
you do.
blah. But definitely, I'm more of just like wing it.
Yeah.
If you want to, it's like we don't have anything written up for this shit. Like we don't write down stuff to what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
We're just winging it.
Winging it, man.
That's life, though. Everyone's just winging it through life. If you really think about it, you could write down whatever you want, but it most likely won't happen how you think it's going to happen. Life is just a big winging it.
Yes, it is.
Winging it.
I think that's a good time to
I thought that conversation was a good for the
good point to end it.
good point ended. Yeah.
Braelen,
How
you
do
got
think?
any?
No, I just thank you guys for bringing me on.
What about your Nite Owl Studio? What time? When are you open?
So it's kind of by personal base, schedule wise, but most often you're going to see a monthly calendar come out, which is posted on our Facebook, our Instagram page, kind of lists our dates and our times that we're running sessions.
And that's Nite Owl Studio on Facebook and all them?
Yep, Nite Owl Studio and Design, and you can kind of just message us through there and kind of ask about availability on these dates. It kind of works like open enrollment kind of thing. So you could be with some other people in a group. So, but we also allow you to reserve it privately if you have a larger group and there's no one scheduled for that day too. Nice. So
nice.
Kind of works that way. But
then you have a boutique too?
There is a boutique. Yep. So that's ran by my father's girlfriend. She has a boutique. So you have to kind of enter through the boutique to get back to our studio space. So kind of it works that way, and we let you. Like I said, you're going to probably spend 2.5 hours there at most times. So we allow you to bring snacks, drinks, kind of hang out, and just make a good time of it.
Sweet.
And that's Nite Owl Studio on Main Street.
Yeah, Main Street, right next to Speakeasy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Grab some dinner, too.
Grab some real good man. Speakeasy.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Braelen Bader.
Well, thanks for listening, for all those who are listening, I would say.
Thanks for coming on, Braelen.
Yeah,
Good time.
that was a great time, man.
Yeah.
You're very, Braelen Bader is a very honest, this is what I always thought about you. You're a very honest, very
genuine,
thank you,
smart, kind dude.
Appreciate
I just
that.
knew that. I knew exactly what I was going to get from Braelen Bader. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it again sometime.
Definitely will.
Yeah, so.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Peace.
See it.